My dad and I recently went whitewater kayaking for the first time at Whitewater Park. And since we only own fishing kayaks, we decided to rent a couple from the park. Now, I gotta be honest, and I was super skeptical at first because they were Star Inflatable Kayaks. But by the end of the day, I realized why inflatable kayaks are a good investment for some people. However, don't expect me to be buying one anytime soon. Let's start with everything that I loved about Star Inflatable Kayaks. Number one, they were super lightweight. So whether you're carrying it back up the hill like we were, or carrying it over a log jam, or hiking miles with it on your back and then inflating it to get to the best spots possible for kayaking, this is a great option. Another reason why it's great is because it was super easy to turn. The first stroke of the paddle, I was amazed because I'm used to turning my barge of a fishing kayak, but this kayak turned on a dime and it was a little bit refreshing, I'm not gonna lie. Also, we ran into a lot of rocks. My dad flipped once after running into a rock. I ran into rocks multiple times, and there was nothing wrong with it. These kayaks are much tougher than I expected. So kudos to Star for creating a very tough inflatable kayak. Another pro that I really liked while setting in these was that they're reasonably stable. Now, my dad did flip multiple times, but it was kind of his own fault, and I never felt unsafe in the kayak. I almost flipped once too, but I managed to stay in the kayak, unlike my dad. The last thing that I really like about inflatable kayaks is how easy they are to transport. You don't have to have a truck, you don't have to have an SUV, you can have a little compact car, or heck, you could even throw it on your back and ride your bike to the spot. They're that easy to transport. So those are the things that I really liked about the Star Inflatable Kayaks. However, there were just too many things that I didn't like about them for me to consider buying one. First of all, I think they're overpriced. Now, granted, they're tough, so they're going to last you a while and you'll get a lot of use out of it, but they're just as expensive as a hardside recreational kayak. And personally, I would rather have a hardside recreational kayak. Another thing that I didn't like was how uncomfortable it was for sitting for long periods. Thankfully, this wasn't a super long stretch of the river. It's like a quarter-mile long. So we would float down, get out, and walk. And that short walk helped me stretch my legs out and kept me fairly comfortable for the time that I was floating. But spending hours in this kayak, I would have gotten so uncomfortable. Another thing that a lot of people won't like, and it was expected on this trip because we were whitewater kayaking, but you're going to get wet. First of all, you sat down in the kayak. Second of all, there's holes in the bottom so that it drains quicker. And the combination of all that, you're just gonna get wet. So be prepared for it now. And while I thought that it paddled very well, it turned on a dime, it kind of turned too well, and the water really controlled the kayak more than I did in some sense. And part of that is because I'm not a great whitewater paddler, I get that, but part of it was just the kayak lacks control that I'm used to from fishing kayaks and other similar kayaks. I've already mentioned that it does flip, so even though it's relatively stable, it's not impossible to flip, and I definitely wouldn't be standing in one unless I was just being goofy and about to jump out and fall in anyways. The last con for me is that this is strictly a recreational kayak. So while I could fish out of it, it's not designed very well for fishing, and this would be more of just floating along for the day or going on a river float. In all honesty, I had a great time in our Star Inflatable Kayaks, and I can see the benefits it offers to many kayakers, but it's just not for me. However, if you'd like to see a kayak that can handle whitewater and you can fish out of, check out this review that I did on sit-in fishing kayaks.